Welcome back to another iteration of Rapid Takes. I have Mike with me, and right now we're going to cover WWE 2K23, which came out earlier this year. Once again, I'm not going to do a full retro for this game, which is why we're recording a Rapid Takes video for it. So, Mike, you're free to begin.
Hey guys, glad to be back. So we're going to start off with the first question. All right, can you just tell us a bit about the game, genre, developer, publisher, and the general concept?
Yeah, so this is another WWE game. There's been dozens of them over the years. I think this one is developed by Ukes. They switched developers after the disastrous WWE 2K20. And obviously that was a pretty bad game. It was rushed, and they switched developers, between that game and WWE 2K22. The same developer that worked on 2K22 developed this one. This is, I believe, the publisher is 2K, but yeah, and this is just a wrestling simulator, similar to all of the other recent WWE games. Obviously, it has bolsterous production values and whatnot. A lot of money went into this. Yeah, that's just like a basic rundown of what the game is.
All right, so how much time have you put in the game so far?
I've put over 70 hours into it, but I haven't done anywhere near as much as you can do in this game. So,
And are you playing on PC or console?
PC.
And using a controller?
Yes, and I've also played a good chunk of this on the Steam Deck as well.
Okay.
And the
Now,
controller that I'm using is a DualSense PS5 DualSense controller.
okay. And now moving on, how much content exactly is in this game? Like gameplay modes and multiplayer, what's going on with that?
So there is a lot of gameplay modes in here. So first you have just the general play mode that's divided up into dozens of different, multiple match types. You have the one-on-one, you have the two-on-two, you have your handicap matches, your one-on-two, you have fatal four-way, you got the Royal Rumble, you got the new War Games match type, which is a lot of fun. You got the Steel Cage match, Hell in a Cell, Extreme Rules, tables, ladders, and chairs, your TLC matches. There's just a lot of different match types. And then you also have My Rise story mode, where you create a character, create a wrestler, and then you can go in and do their individual story mode. And then there's one called the Lock, which is your male superstar story mode, and then there's another one called the Legacy, which is your created female superstar story mode, and each of those is 25 hours long within of themselves.
Wow.
Each. And then you also have My GM, where you basically act as a general manager. You basically select a list of superstars, and then you have to manage them for an entire season. And you can either choose, any of the major brands, which is Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, as well as WCW, NXT, and NXT 2.0. And then they have a few different general managers that you can choose. You also have your create modes, which is create a superstar, create a title, create an entrance. It's very robust in the options that they give you. So all of the major modes from the older WWE games make a return here, but it's a hell of a lot of content. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like it's definitely jam-packed for sure.
Yeah, and
So,
you also have not to cut you off, but you also have something called my factions mode, which is it's similar to the tower system, the tower modes that they have in the NetherRealm Studios games for like Mortal Kombat and Injustice. So there's when I say this game has a lot of content, like I'm not like bullshitting it. It really does. Yeah.
So how are you feeling overall about the core gameplay?
I mean, it's pretty similar to the other WWE games. starting with WWE 2K22, they added a new combo system that's more reminiscent of a traditional fighting game. So you have actual combos in there and whatnot. Because of the fact that they have so many different characters in the game, they have like over 200 different WWE superstars across all of the major areas. All of the different eras. Well, the Attitude Era in the 90s, the Ruthless Aggression Era in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, and then obviously the new era with the superstars that are on TV now. Yeah, I think as far as like the combo system, I mean it's good, but it does get very repetitive. You do see a lot of the same moves over and over again, which is an issue that you see in a lot of like anime arena based fighting games, like the Naruto Storm games and what have you. You do see some of the same moves and whatnot because they have so many different characters that they reuse certain moves and whatnot across all of them. But there is a large variety of like finishing moves and whatnot, and if you're creating your own wrestler, you have like a long ass list of like finishing moves. Like you can create you can customize your own move set for your created wrestler, and it's very robust. There's not like a short list of options that you can choose from. You can customize it to the point where like you can choose what move your wrestler will do, depending on what position they're in. If they're on the top rope, or if you Irish whip your opponent into the corner, you can choose exactly what moves that they'll use during those situations. And then you also have obviously the actual main wrestlers. That exists in real life. So I think it's even though it's repetitive, there's enough content there to where you can kind of ignore it, if that makes sense.
So the small amount of content and variety, would you say that's the biggest strength of this game, or is a lot more going on there?
I would say that's its biggest strength is the variety and the bulk of the content for sure.
Okay. Now, what are the big number of flaws that you see with this game?
Well,
besides repetitiveness.
I would say something that's always bothered me. They've been improving it from game to game, but they've kind of reached a stagnant point as far as like the animations and whatnot, particularly like the character models and their entrances and whatnot. You could tell that they just don't have enough time to really improve upon it, so it's not. Because they release these games yearly. This is a yearly franchise, so some of the animations and the character models, particularly the character models, look a bit off. They look like the real person, but they don't exactly look like the real person, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's some of it does look a bit off as far as that goes. And then the fact that like if you're downed in the middle of a match, a lot of it's based on QTE, and if you don't get the timing down, you're never going to be able to counter your opponent, and you're just gonna basically be frustrated with the whole thing, because the QTEs or whatever is really the only way to counter moves. I don't think they've really figured out a decent way to get around that, given the type of game that it is. So. Yeah, I would say that's my issues with it. Now they have improved the QTEs over time. They've made them less annoying, and they've given you more time with many of the moves in order to allow the proper window for the player to actually hit the button. But there's still instances where like the icon will flash on the screen and the game doesn't really give you enough time to it barely gives you enough time to actually counter. So I think that's a problem. Yeah, I would say those are my biggest issues with it.
Okay. Now I've watched you play this game a few times too, and the gameplay always looks smooth. Now, was there any performance issues I haven't seen by chance?
On PC, I'm not sure how it is on console. It's probably not an issue on console, but for the PC version, there is one major issue, which deals with the refresh rate. If the refresh rate is set on your computer to 120 120, I believe it is, the game will basically play in like it's sped up, which is strange. I've never had that issue with any other game on PC. I had to turn the refresh rate down to 60 in order to get the game to play at the proper speed. And so yeah, I thought that was very strange. Like I said, it's only an issue with the PC version of the game. And then on the Steam Deck, because I played a lot of this on the Steam Deck too, the Steam Deck does struggle to run this game at the proper speed. A lot of the matches, especially if there's like multiple wrestlers in one match, like if you're playing a tag team match, the game's basically playing in slow motion. And on the Steam Deck, it struggles to get the game to run properly.
Now, for the next title, is there any major improvements you'd like to see after playing this one for so long?
It would be nice if they added more move variety to the individual wrestlers, but I already know that's not going to happen. They have too many wrestlers. They don't have a lot of development time to do that. It would just be too much work for the development team to do that realistically. So that's just something that people who play these games are going to have to deal with. There's no way around that. So
now, big question: what scale are you going to give it from F to A? Or forgive me, what grade are you going to give it from F to A?
I would say this is definitely a big improvement over the it's a decent improvement over WWE 2K22, and WWE 2K22 was a good game as well. They really improved this one with the UI, especially it's more colorful and the different menus are they're just easier to read and everything is divided up evenly. So it's not really an issue getting to any option or any one mode. So yeah, I would give this, especially with all the content and whatnot that they included, I would give it a B.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, solid B.
Now, would you recommend this to newcomers and big fans of WWE?
I would. If you're a fan of wrestling, it doesn't really get any better than this. There were a lot of fans, like older fans that have played older wrestling games in the past that want a more arcadish wrestling game, and that's not what this is. This is like a straight on, that's not what these WWE games are now. These are straight on like full-fledged wrestling simulators. Is basically what these games are. They're not really arcadish in that sense. Now, a lot of people were hoping that the All Elite Wrestling game, Fight Forever, AEW Fight Forever, a lot of people were hoping that was going to be like a return to form for a more like arcade type of experience for a wrestling game. But I think you remember me showing you gameplay for that, and yeah. Yeah, the production quality wasn't good on it, and on top of that, it didn't have anywhere near the level of content or depth that the actual standard WWE games have by comparison. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna get like another true arcade, like modern arcade wrestling game. So this is what we have. And this isn't bad. I understand for those for those players who prefer something that's more traditional, and I understand these games can be very overwhelming for anyone who hasn't played a wrestling game in years, or for any newcomer. Going into this, there's so many different options, so many different wrestlers, so many different modes. You're going to be overwhelmed and whatnot, but it's all a part of the learning curve. At the end of the day, these aren't difficult games to play. They're very technical. It's very technical of like all the different things you can do in a particular match. Yeah, it's not difficult, I would say. So I would recommend it personally.
All right. Now that is all the questions I have. But before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you guys again for watching the video, and we'll definitely bring you some more of these too.
Yep. Now, I also want to mention that the Rapid Takes videos, I would like to do more of these in the future, but these aren't meant to be replacements for the retrospectives. These are only for the games that I don't plan on doing a full retro for, that I have played extensively. So that's what these videos are for. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Same result each time. They got lucky here.